Hi, everybody. Michelle D'Ambra here with Josephine Zanetti. Hi, Josephine.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good. You too? Me too.
Yeah, we're all doing
I
good
know.
over here. I mean, we
Um,
had pouring rain here, but now it's all normal today.
it's nice here. We actually need rain. It's going to start on Monday. I've been having to water my lawn every few days, so I'm looking forward to the rain coming.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's the upside of not doing work outside.
Right.
Time to relax.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. So this week, everybody, we're going to talk about what's happened 2 weeks in a row. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. So this week we're going to talk about liver health, and I'm going to share some things that I've done over the past, gosh, I don't know how many years. I've done some crazy things, but I really believe that they've helped me tremendously. And as we age, it just becomes more difficult. There's more of a burden with our liver, and especially women, once you go through menopause and after menopause, you start to have problems because the liver just is, women get diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver as they age. And so it's really important that we take care of our liver. I would say at least, by age 50 over, you should definitely be doing something on a consistent basis. Prior to that would be helpful too, because I know a lot of young people that come to me and their liver isn't doing well. So we're going to just share some things that could be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's right. Because I mean, the liver is probably the most important organ in the body, because the reason it's the most important one is that it doesn't tell you when it's going to get sick.
Well, it does give some indication. So some of the things that I'm going to share is like if you have right shoulder pain,
right,
that is related to the liver usually. And if you have left shoulder pain, that is usually the gallbladder. So then other things with the liver is you can have more tightness on the right-hand side. And sometimes people who have knee problems, that's actually related to other things. It's not their knees. It could be organs, their liver, their shoulder, which the shoulders respond because there's meridians in traditional Chinese medicine. So if you follow the meridians, you can see where there could be a possible problem or imbalance with a organ. Another indication, and again, traditional Chinese medicine, is people start to develop, they call it the 11 lines in their forehead. Like mine aren't too bad for being 54. And I do not get Botox. I know a lot of women get Botox, so they hide those 11s. But those 11s are an indication that your liver probably needs a little bit of work. I was watching a video of a man who does the carnivore diet. All he eats is meat. I don't know how people do that, because I probably couldn't move my bowels if all I ate was meat. And he had like 5 lines, and his, as he was talking, I could see the lines all the way down. I'm thinking, because I thought that's going to be a lot of stress on the liver and kidneys to eat just meat. And sure enough, as he was talking, I saw all these lines show up in the middle of his forehead. So, just because somebody looks lean and thin, or they look like they're in shape, does not necessarily mean that they're healthy on the inside. For me, as a health, person who's studied different things, I can see when somebody's actually not healthy, even though they visually look like they're taking care of themselves. So a lot of these people who are lifting weights and working out and doing these diets that get them lean, they're not necessarily healthy on the inside. So
and if you go see a doctor and you think you got a problem on, most of the time they're not going to really take it seriously. They're not going to examine the liver unless it's really, really something that needs to be done. Like my girlfriend that I worked with when I was young at Bell Canada, that's a long time ago. She found out at the age of 54, she was she actually was retired, and she was wanting to become a nurse. And so what she did anyway, she was not able to swallow her food. So she goes to the doctor, and the doctor says there's nothing wrong with her. She didn't do any examination, says it will pass, nothing serious, don't worry about it. But then 2 or 3 months later down the road, she finds out, she goes, she continues because she couldn't, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So instead, what she ended up doing, she goes to the doctor, she tells them, please give me an exam. So finally they do an exam. You know, Canada is no different than the US. US, you got the insurance, they don't want to pay for the exam. So the doctors, they kind of like, wait, wait, we're going to check ourselves, right? So anyways, after the exam comes, she finds out that she only had 1 week to live because she had the liver cancer.
Yeah,
So this is like, these are extreme, and this is a woman that didn't drink alcohol a whole lot, okay? But what she was doing in the last year, she was looking after her mom who had the cancer. She saw her mother dying. That's why she wanted to become a nurse after, because she was a real caretaker in that way. And most importantly also is that at night, in order to pass her test, she would work at night, very late at night, in the dark almost, in the basement, in order to study. And so she wouldn't go to bed until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And we know that going to bed late at night is not good for the liver. Although this is what I mean, the liver is not going to knock on your door and say, hey, by the way, go to bed because this is not feeling good for me. I'm not liking this. But if we continue the same kind of lifestyle and we abuse ourselves, eventually the liver is going to be targeted. I mean, we get other malaise. I mean, she could have had colon cancer or something. But the liver, when it comes down to going to bed, because it generates the blood, the liver stores all our iron. And I mean, there's so many functions. It's got 100 functions with the liver. And I mean, if there's anything we need to look after is that. And, most of our ailments comes from that, like you said, it's like if we would detox more often, look after ourselves better, have a better lifestyle, then it means that we love our liver much better. It's like God, if you love God, you're going to love your liver because basically it's the same thing.
Well, it's interesting that, our cars, we take them to get oil changes and, flush the transmission fluid, and we get all this maintenance to take care of our car so it doesn't fall apart. But we're not doing maintenance on our body.
That's right. That's
really important because from the time that we start eating food, actually, it all starts in our head. So, what are your thoughts? What thoughts are you entertaining? Are you feeling regret? Are you mad at your ex? Are you mad at your boss? So it starts there. Then as we eat, it starts the digestion process. So we've got our mental digestion, then we have our physical digestion. And then it has to go through this path that follows it down, and it goes through the stomach, and then it goes into it goes through the gallbladder, the small intestine, it goes through this whole process and then through the liver. If that is not flowing properly, you're going to have problems along the way. If parasites are going to be in the way, candida, you've got copper, you've got, iron buildup, all these things that are clogging up the system. So the car needs to be taken care of. The human body needs to be taken care of. And I know I started having problems in my 20s because I started doing crazy things back then. I even heard about the liver gallbladder flush when I was doing a cleanse. I did the lemonade diet. I don't know if you've heard of that, Josephine.
Yes. What about the gallbladder? That one I never did. Did you do that liver gallbladder with the olive oil?
So I read about it back when I did the lemonade cleanse. I went 8 days without food. I think I was in my 30s, like 35. And on some level, I would say it was helpful because it really helped clear out a lot of old junk. I retraced trauma from a previous marriage in my 20s. I kind of dealt with a lot of stuff, but not eating for 8 days is probably not very healthy, and struggled on my adrenal glands. And I read about the liver gallbladder cleanse, and I'm like, I don't know, I just wasn't ready for it. So then when I was going through menopause before in my mid 40s, I read about it again. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I knew I was having problems because I had high chemical sensitivity. So, like when I would turn on the gas stove to cook, it felt highly toxic to me. I hadn't had a hair test back then, but I believe I was in a 4 low pattern. Just knowing all the symptoms that my clients go through and the symptoms that I had, I believe I was in a 4 low. Somebody put lavender essential oil on them, and I had to ask them to go wash it off of them because I felt so sick. And this is all liver.
Right.
So I went back and I did a kidney cleanse first. You want to make sure that your kidneys and your colon are moving before you do something like a liver gallbladder flush. You want to make sure that those pathways are moving properly. So I did a kidney cleanse. I didn't need to do a colon cleanse because my colon's been moving well for 20 years. But I did the kidney cleanse, and then I did the liver gallbladder and a whole bunch of sludge and you get grains of, stones. There were stones in there, and all of that came out. I felt so much better. My problem is I did like 17 of them over a 2-year period. So I think they kind of were depleting. As a practitioner doing hair mineral analysis, if anybody's watching this that gets hair mineral analysis, I would not recommend it for somebody who's in a 4 low because you're kind of already depleted anyway. And I would not recommend it for somebody who's highly sympathetic dominant because things are moving too slow. So that's my warning. I just really would not recommend it. If you're in fast oxidation and things are moving, you may be able to. I would investigate it. I'm not going to advise anybody to do it, but those would be a case that I think it would be a little bit safer if you're in fast oxidation.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was very helpful. I saw the stones come out. I've seen other people release tons of stones. But you can get that with coffee enemas too. I've had clients see stones and parasites from doing coffee enemas. Again, you don't want to do too many of those if you're in 4 low or if you're highly sympathetic dominant, because you're trying to build up. So sometimes taking away can be too much. So taking away a little bit to relieve a burden is good, and then try to slowly through diet and rest and things like that.
Yeah, the thing with people in 4 low, many people experience constipation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a problem. If they're constipated, instead of doing the coffee enemas, they can do at the beginning, they can only do the water colonna. That would be colonic. That would be okay, right? Because most people in 4 lows, especially if their magnesium is really low, it's at 2 or 3. Most of them have problems. But the symptoms with liver that many people may not realize, because you don't always feel it. But if, let's say, you are constipated, you have, let's say, skin problems, that's another thing. You got bleeding disorders, you got this digestive disturbance, such as like a lot of our clients, either gas or bloating. It gets better with the program, but when they start, they do have the gas and the bloating. And I just have a client right now who's telling me that instead of eating late at night, because she had a lot of gas and she was she had the bloating problem, is that she's going to start, and she did start eating earlier. And so it gives her time to digest before she goes to bed, and she's finding out. You see, it all has to do with the liver, honestly, again, because now she's going to bed earlier as well. So she's finding out she doesn't have the gas as much as she had before. And she doesn't blow up as she was before. So there is something to be said about eating earlier than, let's say, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, because some people eat late, and then they go to bed around 9 or 10. And so it means that, they hardly have time to digest their food. So if you go to bed at 9, try to eat around 4 or 5. I used to do that all the time. And since I haven't done that in the last year, and I did notice that I'm having more gas, because then I don't have that much time to digest my food, right? So she kind of ignited this when she spoke to me about that. And I said, yeah, I'm going to start that again. eating earlier instead than because obviously my liver is even though I do the coffee enemas as much as I can, it probably the lifestyle is so important. I mean, it's no use, the lifestyle is so important. It always boils down to that, doesn't it, Michelle?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, my liver enzymes were like in the 30s and 40s for about a year and a half. And then I did some things. There's a couple products. The company is called Complete Natural Products. You can get them on Amazon. They actually have a kidney cleanse, they have a gallbladder cleanse, and they have a liver one.
Oh,
and
wow.
The liver one, I didn't do it as a cleanse. I really just kind of did it as like once or twice a day for a week or two. And then I use Chonka Piadre, which is a stone breaker. I've been doing that on and off for years because I learned about that about 8 years ago. And that's helpful, especially since I have a glass of tea every morning, black tea. So I just want to minimize the stones that I could be creating from the tea. So people who drink coffee and tea, you're, contributing to stones in the kidneys. So I kind of cancel it out with the Chonka Piadre. And my liver enzymes are now 25.
Wow. Hey.
And we're in the 30s and 40s for the past almost 2 years. And they're down to 25. When I was doing the liver flushes, my liver enzymes were at 18.
Wow. Hey, what a difference. Okay, so in your case, again, also your lifestyle has changed as well, too, right?
Yes. Well, so I think the things that helped was I did shadow work recently, just kind of working on some things and just things about my personality that I developed through childhood trauma and understanding myself more and not looking at it in a negative way, but just in a loving way, that's a response and personality that I developed because of the way that I was raised and been working on that. So I think all of these things combined, I was able to get out of a very high calcium shell. It was at 500. So if anybody's found this video and you have a high calcium shell, mine went up to 500 and it was in the 200s for probably most of almost 3 years. And now I'm at like 160, 170, something like that for my calcium. And then I also had a high sodium to potassium ratio for a very long time. All of that's down. And I really believe the combination of making some shifts in my program, clearing out my liver, doing the shadow work, my wall came down. I was crying like almost every day. I could still like right now, like if I see something that's very loving or something that's very sad, I'll start to cry. But in the shell, I was very hard and cold and, I was detached. Whereas now I feel much more in myself.
Wow. I'm glad you spoke about this too, because I have a client recently as well who has a high calcium shelf. I mean, it's not that high. It's 170. Okay. But for her, it's a big deal because she really thought that she did not have that kind of a problem before. And this is the first time she's had a hair test. And so she kind of panicked because she thought that she was really healthy. And her NAK was really high. It's really high, it's over the 30s, So
so that's what's causing most of her pain because my calcium
that's right.
It was at 158. And to me, I feel fantastic, but it was so high before. But this high sodium to potassium ratio, you're going to have a lot of pain, a lot of inflammation, a lot of swelling. You're going to feel like stiff. I'm very flexible now, but somebody who's in a high NAK, you're not going to be very flexible.
That's right. So she is going through the same thing. And if she's hearing this, she's going to be encouraged by you because she's a professional. So hair mineral analysis, I did send her some things, although she didn't ask, but I know how the mind works, So she's kind of like thinking, is this really true? What's going on? Is this accurate? This hair mineral analysis,
Yeah.
But the symptoms does actually show, because she does have stiffness in
What's
her
her
joints and everything.
magnesium? What was her calcium?
Her magnesium was pretty high as well.
Okay, so she's
yeah,
in a high stress pattern. So
very high stress.
we're going to lose magnesium when we're stressed. We also lose zinc. And then sodium is high adrenaline.
That's
you're
right.
pumping out a lot of adrenaline. For me, what I did is I stopped taking calcium. I stopped taking a supplement with calcium, magnesium, and I just focused on taking magnesium. I was taking about 500 to 600 milligrams a day. That completely lowered my sodium, and it lowered my magnesium, and it got rid of my calcium shell.
Right, because she's like you. She's got three highs. She's got the sodium that's high.
Yeah.
She's got the magnesium and calcium that are, all three of them
Low
are high.
sympathetic dominance, potassium.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so it will be interesting. I did tell her to start slower as well, because she's got some allergies to supplements, so she doesn't do too well with supplements. But it's always like, start with the diet, always.
Yeah.
Start with that. That's the main goal anyway.
Lower the stress. Where's
exactly.
the stress? It
That's
could
right.
be a job, it could be a relationship, it can be, it's something. And
That's
that
right.
needs to be reduced
That's
to
it.
heal.
Right.
You can't heal if you have that stress in your life. You got to find a way. I cut people out. I put my phone on do not disturb. Last weekend, I completely shut my phone off for the day. It was beautiful. I just shut it off. And I said, I'm not talking to anybody today. I don't care. Even my mom, she was trying to get a hold of me to get my mail. And she called my friend over here. And my friend's like, oh, she sent me a text that she's checking out for the day. I just checked out. I was like, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. And it's really important to do that, to know that you can't do everything. If you're sympathetic dominant, you're going to create these stress patterns because you don't have enough energy to handle whatever you're doing. Whatever's in your life is too much.
Exactly.
So the body's trying to adapt, and it'll create a calcium shell. It'll create a high NAK because you're doing way too much.
That's right. So another way also with the liver, how to identify the general liver toxicity, we can do it with a hair mineral analysis. Okay, so if with the copper, cadmium, mercury, and lead, it always ends up with the liver to some degree, at least, that we kind of have an idea that something's wrong with the liver. Okay, and so that would be one of the ways to do it. And of course, the correction of the liver is like we were talking about right now, with the diet, some supplements, and we don't even have to do that much supplements. My first liver cleanse, I never did the one that you spoke about, and of course that's a very popular one. But I did the wild rose at that time. It's called the wild rose detox for the liver, and it has all kinds of different supplements in there for the liver. But most importantly, for 7 days you don't need any protein for 7 days. There is no animal protein. It's only vegetables or stuff like that, because really we don't want to overload the liver. Not that protein isn't good for our health, but at that point when you're only detoxifying your liver, you don't want to eat any meat at all.
All the other liver cleanses are the same, where they say to do vegan, at least lead up to it, that week, that couple days, you want to just make sure everything's flowing and you don't have any animal protein.
That's right. So if, let's say you got eyes problem, like floaters, or you're having a hard time with going to the bathroom, you're constipated. Vision
thing for liver. And then you can look in the whites of your eyes. So when I did my first liver cleanse, the day before I did it, I took pictures of my eyes. My eyes are very blue, but they started to have like a yellow tinge to them that was making them look a little greenish blue. And after I did these series of liver cleanses, my eyes got brighter blue and my whites got whiter.
Wow. You see, those are all signs, right? So going to bed early as well, that helps the liver. But I mean, there is something to be said about a good taking care of your liver and, don't drink alcohol, that would be the best thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not even a sip.
Yeah.
You're better off not having it. And, you spoke about before the liver fat, the fatty liver, liver. And fatty liver is not always caused by people who drink alcohol. It can be caused by numerous
They have the
other things.
non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Right.
Happens to women post-menopause.
That's
So you
right.
just got to be careful that you're working on that liver. And like I said, the signs are if you're starting to see the 11s in your eyes, if you have right shoulder pain, tightness or stiffness or feeling underneath the right rib cage, digestion problems are always an indication that there's a breakdown from the time you start eating to the time you eliminate. There's a breakdown somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. So those are things that people have to identify and know that being on a program that corrects the liver is very important. So this is something that we do offer to our clients. And yes, everything gets better, but like everything else, it takes time. And what it takes is discipline, quite honestly. If you have you're able to discipline yourself in having a good lifestyle, and it's not that bad. Actually, it's much better than having a bad lifestyle. Won't you agree?
I feel so much better, so much more happy, more peaceful. It definitely, to me, I'd rather live a cleaner life because I feel a lot less stressed and more peaceful. So I don't know. I feel like most people are in passive suicide. So they're not exactly talking about killing themselves, but if you're doing things that are not an act of love towards your body, which is taking care of it, eating healthy, not doing anything like smoking or drinking, all of that is, it's really just a passive suicide.
Yeah, and you know what? There's more people like that than we can even think of, right?
Most people.
Yes, I would say most people are. They are on a suicidal mission kind of thing, and so that is very sad to see. But this is a fact of life, and I mean, so somehow, some way, if people can start the self-care, like you call it, right? That is very important. Improving your eating habits is important. Drinking a lot of water. Most of the time, spring water is the best. And if you substitute certain products, instead of taking medication, you substitute it for things that are important, like supplements, vitamin A, if you have a cold or something else, right? And also a digestive aid is very important, like GB3. That's what we recommend. It has ox bile in there, and it's very good because it's got Russian black radish, and it's very good for the bile. And it's also good for eliminating toxic copper, overloaded of copper that we have in our liver as well.
It helps with parasites, but people who don't have a gallbladder, I definitely recommend the GB3 over the other, because there are multiple digestive aids with Endomet and trace elements. But the GB3 will help with those that don't have a gallbladder. You don't have to get your gallbladder removed. You don't. After I did all those liver flushes, I don't know what my gallbladder looked like beforehand, but I happened to get an ultrasound because I needed one for because I was going through menopause and they wanted to check my ovaries, and there was no stones in my gallbladder or my liver. All they saw in my gallbladder was one teeny weeny little polyp, which is probably related to parasites, but it was completely clear. So that's pretty good for, I think I was 48 at the time when I had that done. And I would say clean diet. I've been eating healthy for about 20 years. All those flushes and just the detoxing and the healthy diet. I'm sure I feel very confident if I got an ultrasound now, you wouldn't see any stones in my gallbladder.
No,
so
exactly.
I really believe that these are things that you can take care of on your own. There's no reason. It's stress and it's diet.
Yes.
And if you're that stressed and your diet's bad, you're not loving yourself. And
that's right.
It takes time to love ourselves. And and to see that, our trauma and the way that we're living our life is a form of passive suicide and abuse.
Yes,
We really need
yes.
to love ourselves better.
That's right. I mean, that's easier said than done for some people because they don't know really what it means, right? Love for some people is to have a glass of 2 glasses of wine, which is half a bottle of wine every night. And that
Mhm.
would be a form of love. But that's not how the liver sees it, right? So
No.
whatever, for, you always have to think, we don't have to think about what we love as much as what would my liver like for
Right,
me to do
right.
today.
And
Okay,
I
so
did a
that would
lot of
be,
abuse too. I mean, I drank a lot. I would say from the time I was 16 through up to my mid 40s, I was a weekend warrior. I had periods that I intuitively would kind of check out and not go out with my friends and do things. Like, I think I kind of knew that I needed to back off and just relax and stuff. But, self-love and healthiness is stages. So we'll like do things like in my early 20s, I started drinking water and I stopped drinking soda. Okay, that was one thing. Then, I started eating more vegetables. Then so you're just kind of constantly graduating and becoming healthier and having more self-love. It just takes time. You don't just all of a sudden go, okay, I'm just going to be healthy and love myself. And it just miraculously happens overnight.
no,
It takes
absolutely.
time.
It does. It does. Things like also that we didn't bring up, I forgot about, that was about the cleaning products that we use, the harmful cleaning products that we use, or skin products that we use also, that some of them are very toxic. And so that would be something that you may want to remove also, and use things that are more less toxic for the liver as well. So that would be something like when you clean, instead of using toxic chemicals, you could use vinegar with water, would be something to, every time I do that, and most of the time I do that, I clean I'll tell you how I do that. I put some vinegar and I put a little bit of detergent, just a little detergent from the dishes, okay, dishwashing detergent, just a little bit, and then the rest is all water. It smells terrific and it cleans the whole place out. Of course, it's not as good, let's say, as bleach for
Right.
certain things, right? There are certain things that sometimes it seems like you need bleach,
Yeah.
but I'm getting away from bleach, or I've gotten away from bleach, not needing it as much as I did, because I used to use it so much. But
And that's the
these are,
thing that I just mentioned, is we just slowly start to
yes,
replace and do better. You don't just do it overnight. It's
right.
a process that happens over time. People put too much pressure on themselves. You don't want to do everything all at once because you're going to fail. You want to kind of slowly incorporate things until it becomes a habit. Then you say, okay, this is easy now to do. That's why we say for people, most people, and I knew this when I was doing fitness coaching before, that people had no problem beating themselves up at the gym, but they had a problem eating correctly. So the diet is most important. Incorporating veggies and stuff. I'm going to spring this upon Josephine. So Josephine wrote this wonderful cookbook that I'm going to brag about here. She put a lot of love into it. You can just, when you open up the book and you flip through the pages, you can see all the love that she put into this book. And she goes into, how to store food, how to cut food, how to, how long you should keep the food. I mean, it's so detailed, Josephine. It's just amazing. I give this cookbook to every single one of my clients when they sign up. And I believe Josephine does the same thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your book? Because I think, the diet, you put so much into this that can really help people learn how to cook. And because of the program, you talk about fast and slow oxidation. What are the healthy fats? People are like, well, what fats should I have? You cover that in here.
Yeah, so like the first part of the book, you did spring this on me, but that's okay, because I had no idea. Right. So that's okay, because next week Michelle is going to take some time off because she's got another job. So now that's why she's thinking about that. She wants to kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
That's her type A. That's what we love about Michelle. That's for sure. Okay. Anyway, so the first part of the book, it's really about nutritional balancing. It talks about what needs to be done, like you said at the beginning, and it's all about nutrition. And then the second part is there's some recipes about sauces, to do different sauces, because eventually you get bored. So eating always the steamed vegetables, whether it's done steamed or whether you do it a little sauteed or whatever, people they get bored. So I figured, okay, I'll have a chapter on sauces, on how to make the vegetables a little bit more fun also. And also what I emphasize a lot, because when I wrote the book, it was in 2014, I started 15, and I kind of had a feeling that, things that was going to get, I don't know, I had a feeling that we needed to seize the moment. And seizing the moment at this point is like, you got to have priorities in your life, top priorities. And we kind of now finding out that our priorities need to be set. It's not like having fun on top anymore. It's like more, looking after ourselves. God comes first. We look after our health, because if we don't look after our health, what happens after that is we're no good for our family. We're not good for our friends. We're no good for nobody. And then everything comes along and everything gets easier. But this is basically what needs to be done, because spiritually we're all bankrupt. And I think Michelle would agree with that. And this is where me and her, we agree a lot on these things. So while the diet is very important, lifestyle is very important as well. And I think, but I think that people, yes, definitely. I just sent a book last week to a client, and she got it, and she was really excited, and she really liked it because it looks really professional, because I suppose people didn't think it was going to look that good, because I'm not selling it. It's not sold on Amazon. I haven't sold it. And I have my own reason not wanting to sell it on Amazon. And but I mean, it's amazing how many people have bought the copy. And I mean, I think everybody should have one, because that gets them going. Actually, it gets them going. It gets them excited. They read, they say, oh yeah. So I just give them, I don't give a lecture on anything. It's like, I just give them punches here and there, so they feel inspired in moving on and looking after themselves, quite honestly. That's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day. So yeah, so hopefully, show the cover again, because that's a nice cover. I love that.
This is part of signing up with us for initial hair test. And then if you just want to get the cookbook, you can go to either Josephine's or my website. Josephine's in Canada, and I'm in the US. So
that's right. It's easier to get it from Michelle if you're in the US. Exactly. And you can always contact me, because there's another gal who's got some copies, because I'm not having, the books are not kept anymore in a fulfillment service, because every year, ding, 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 it was like they cramped the prices up. And that was
once they run out, they're out for now. So once we run out, that'll be it.
And then me and Michelle will figure something, but for now, that's it. After that, that's right. Okay.
So I just, because it had to do with liver, and diet is really number one. I mean, like you mentioned, any of these cleanses that you read on, they're going to tell you to eat vegetables, cooked vegetables, and a clean eating to get towards the cleanse. Any cleanse, colon cleanse, all of them. This is a natural cleanse. Eating
vegetables. That's right.
The best way to cleanse your body and get nutrition at the same time. But people don't want to eat them. I go to people's homes all the time, and they have no vegetables. And if they do have a vegetable, it's like how much they're serving. I could probably eat the whole thing myself. So then I feel bad, because I'm like, well, I would eat this whole bowl, but now I got to share it with all these people, because this is their plate has like this much vegetable. And then they wonder why they're not going number 2.
Right, exactly. That's another, next time, that's the topic. But the thing with the vegetables really is we have not been groomed. None of us have been groomed. There's not that many actually cultures. Maybe the Chinese, they eat a lot of vegetable, much more than any other cultures.
And Mediterranean, they do fish, they do
Yeah,
vegetables, but
right.
still, most cultures
Never.
like us, we grew up
Yeah.
Italian. The staple was pasta.
Pasta and the salad, the green salad, and that's raw. So it's like we're not cows after all. We don't digest, we don't have four stomach. So we don't really digest our food very well. But you're right on the money about the vegetables. And the thing is, a lot of people promote the vegetables and the fruits. We don't promote the fruits. I mean, especially when you start out, especially not for the babies, when, you know, when they start out to eat, and having only vegetables is much better than having the fruit. I remember me, I think, I don't remember, but I think my mom did feed me fruits when I was a baby. They were mashed, but I mean, that, you know, mashed peach and mashed, but we get a taste for sweets right away. And it's like a high right away. It's like giving me a heroin shot, right? For a baby, it's like, oh, wow, I see these kids on Instagram sometimes when I watch, you know, and parents give them, they're no more than a year old, pasta, and you can see the kid's brain already. It's like, oh, wow. I mean, they're high already.
Well, you know, because it releases so carbs like that. Complex carbs release serotonin, and it's kind of a feel good, but it's a long term. It's glue in the intestinal tract. Gluten, flour, all that is glue in the intestinal tract. And then it's not really providing enough nutrition. And then as far as fruit, I'm actually thinking of reworking my 3-week sugar detox. I used to host groups and I have a small booklet. I'm thinking of redoing it and sending it out as a freebie. But it helps train you over 3 weeks to get rid of the sweetness taste in your taste buds. So that when you do start to eat like fruit or something again, you go, ew, because your taste buds have been retrained over that 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's smart, Michelle. Yeah, definitely. I hope, I'm looking forward to that. That'd be fun to have for the clients. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because, you know, so many people have a hard time with that. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable because they've started, and just the thought of not having certain fruits or carbs disturbs them. And many of them, they quit the program because of that.
Well, it's also, so that's where we get back to the spiritual development and the love, self-love, and working on our traumas, because things like sugar and alcohol and complex carbs are soothing. So why are we soothing ourselves? What's missing in our lives that we feel that we need to soothe ourselves? And that's really why I personally believe working on that is far more superior than anything, because once you work on that, then you just start making better choices in your life with diet, with the people that you hang around with the TV shows that you watch, you know, what you consume mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and within your daily life. Having boundaries and things like that. But until you get to the source of why you're doing these things, you're just going to keep doing them.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, yeah. So now I think we're winding down already.
Yeah.
Time,
so that's
already. So
I sprung this on Josephine. I meant to mention it beforehand, but I forgot. And then as she mentioned, so I do, I have a full consulting business and I do other things like accounting. And I have a special project that I'll be working on over the next few weeks. So as part of my self-care, I will not be overextending myself and doing these videos for a couple of weeks while I work on that project, because it's really important for me to not do too much for my own self-care. So.
Yeah, and I could probably do something myself, but I rather do it with Michelle because I like doing it with her. And that's going to give me an opportunity as well to take some time off as well.
Yes.
You know, so not that this is a burden or anything, because we enjoy it, right? But I'll do something else on Fridays instead of doing a video. But I'm sure we're going to see each other soon in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
And in that time, go ahead, sorry.
No, but we'll let
your video delayed.
Okay, we're back.
You are. I paused it for a minute, so Josephine kind of flashed out there for a second. But yes, we're going to take a break for a couple weeks, and if you can just reach out to us, either leave a comment on the YouTube videos. We put out a lot of videos over the last 2 months, and then if you want to send us emails, or if you want to get a copy of Josephine's book, you know, everything's going to be in the description of the YouTube channel. And let us know if you'd like us to discuss other things in the future.
Yes, fantastic. Listen, have a nice weekend, and
Thanks.
everybody else as well. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.